Hey, this is the coach, Brian Wright, here at Coach's Corner, talking about dirty boxing. The Dirty Boxing Fighting Championship, also known as DBX. Now, a lot of organizations come around with hybrid models, different structures, new ideas, and everybody compares it to MMA. So this is like UFC light, or is this the retirement league for guys that couldn't make it in the UFC? DBX is different. DBX reminds me of K1 back in the day. When K1 started out, it was a hybrid rule set. It was a rule set that was supposed to allow the best of striking arts. And at the time, we're talking about American rules kickboxing, Dutch kickboxing, and Muay Thai. It was a place for them to, and karate, kung fu, all that kind of stuff. But it was primarily Dutch kickboxing, Muay Thai, and American rules kickboxing. But really just Dutch kickboxing and Muay Thai, and then eventually primarily Dutch kickboxing. But K1 comes around, 70% knockout rate, only heavyweights, super exciting, super dynamic, entertaining characters, really good high production on the shows. And the thing that it was like you knew what you were getting. There was not going to be a sleeper. There was no clinching, so there was no stalling. Guys were just banging out. It was 3 rounds. It wasn't 5 rounds. It was 3. So you had no reason to hold back. Everybody was big. Everybody was heavy. Everybody hit really hard. So yeah, you had a 70% knockout rate, and that's what made the sport at the time the biggest fight sport. I mean, I think the popularity, the amount of people watching the UFC right now is comparable to what K1 was getting in 2000. The money wasn't the same, of course, but it was massive globally. It may not have taken off in the United States as much as it did around the world, but K1, you can't deny what it was in the time. So DBX, I'm looking at it, and it's a hybrid rule set. It has guys coming from boxing, from kickboxing, from MMA. And yeah, they're coming into an 18-foot ring. It's 3 rounds. There's no defensive clinching. They have little gloves on, so the impacts are going to be higher no matter what the weight class is. They can elbow, and they can strike when guys hit the floor. So this is designed for people to get knocked out, which ultimately is what fans want. And this is a huge opportunity for this organization, for a new sport, to take the fans that don't like grappling, that they don't like stalling, they don't like 5-minute rounds, they want to see a little bit faster action. This is really an interesting time. I think this can be an explosive thing. So instead of bringing in athletes that have failed everywhere else, we're starting to see DBX develop athletes that guys are coming back, and now DBX is the thing that they do, and they're putting the time in, and they're conforming to the rules, and they're growing with the sport. The sport's being approved in more and more athletic commissions on a daily basis. I think you're going to see DBX on a monthly basis all across the country, and you're going to start to know the names, and you're going to start to understand the rules. You're going to start to understand the difference between an MMA striker and a boxer, a kickboxer and a boxer. And then you're going to start to see in a short amount of time guys that are coming in that are going to be DBX boxers. They're going to be DBX fighters. The same way in MMA where before it was striking versus grappling, kickboxer versus boxer, judo versus jiu-jitsu. Now it's MMA. MMA is really morphed to its own thing. You have guys that are better at grappling than they are at striking, but ultimately everybody's good at everything, and that's what makes MMA so interesting. And I think DBX is turning into that, where you're seeing boxers are throwing elbows, and you're seeing MMA fighters that are getting better at their jab and their cross and straightening up their punches a little bit. So you're seeing this hybrid sport with a hybrid rule set that's developing. The knockout rate's going to stay consistent. The excitement's never going to leave it because the rules are just designed for action. So if the organization keeps doing what it's doing with a high production value, increasing pay for fighters as the show grows, increasing the audience, investing in everything, I think there's longevity there. I'm excited for the prospects with it. It's not that just that I work with the show. The only reason I work with it is because the first time I saw it, I said, this is something I want to get involved with, because it reminded me a lot of what K1 did back in the day when it went from being this like fringe thing in Japan to being a global phenomenon. I think DBX has the potential to do that, but we've got to stop comparing it to other things. It's not boxing. It's not MMA. It's not kickboxing. It truly is its own sport. It's its own sport. It'll have its own culture. It'll have its own language. It'll have its own fan base, and it'll have a pool of fighters that are DBX fighters. And it'll represent something separate from all the other arts. It'll be its own thing. And that's what I think is so cool. I feel that we're looking at the ground floor of something that just has infinite growth possibility. So yeah, I think DBX is something that you should check out. The production value is the best I've seen from a non-UFC level show. It's really, really good. They've taken what they've learned, the best and the worst of all the other things, and they've applied it here to effectively match what they're trying to achieve. Everything from the lead up videos to the lighting to the creative way in which they built this ring. It's out of wood and leather and it has an old school feel, but you know it's still a current sport, to the little gloves instead of it being bare knuckle. It's not just spectacle. It has a little bit of spectacle because it's new, but it's really a sport and it's entertaining. So yeah, I'm a believer. I like it. I'm curious to what your opinion about it is. It's free on YouTube right now. You can see DBX 1 through 5 free on YouTube. 6 coming up out of Miami on April 10th. Check it out. Tell me in the comment sections what you think. Are you as excited about the future potential of DBX as I am? Let me know. Peace.